from my point, I can say it has always been like this. You know, we were dealing with the same issues actually since the last 22, 23 years. And, but as the media interest has grown and the world has gone bigger and more events have started all around the world, of course, when things are happening, they get more into a focus. And so actually in our situation, with that kind of stuff you are talking about, we are dealing since the last 22 years. So I don't really think it's a crisis at the moment, but I think some issues like health and safety and different regulation have to be put more in the focus of everybody actually.
These issues only get brought up by promoters and event organizers in the media when they're the headline has already been written. Perhaps we could do more talking about this issue in advance, you know, educating the media about all of the work that you guys as promoters do, showing how much money is spent on health and safety, you know, showing that you hired the extra police or, you know, the extra emergency workers, you know, things like that, trying to, you know, address it and educate people about all of the stuff that you're doing in advance.
We've been doing day parties in London since 2014 now, and quite large-scale day parties. I'd say that people go as crazy during the day as they do at night time, but it does mean that people turn up with a different attitude. When you go to a late-night club in London, the doors will open at, say, 10, 11 o'clock at night, but nobody wants to get there till 1 in the morning. So if you've had dinner at home at like 7, 8 o'clock, or you've been out to a restaurant, then you've got quite a large amount of time to kill before you go out to the club, and that's the time when people preload. It's cheaper for them to drink at home. You know, they might go a bit crazy a bit early, and so whereas at our parties people tend to turn up a lot more sober. So yeah, you have a good shout at it being less messy.
People don't research what they are taking. All this stuff like GHB, 2CP, whatsoever, all the new stuff on the market. People don't even Google what they are doing and what it can do to your body. And I think like in the 90s, people were more like, okay, we're taking everything, but at least we know what we're doing. And there was always a rule like, never mix the drugs. And I think this is something that got completely lost in our times. And I think this is also the problem why so many people lately die in parties.
Giving everybody enough space, making sure nobody is overloading the room and there's not like whatever double amount of people in the room as it's supposed to be, and you have enough water, medication and everything, you can already help and provide a lot. It's time for everybody to look like, okay, is my club, festival, whatever, is it safe? Not only from a perspective, does the speaker fall down? Like everything, you know, do I overfill it? Do I have enough water? Do you give free water maybe to the people? And I think this should be a very important part of the budget as well.
We're in the dark ages in America. I mean, you can't even, if the word drug comes up at a meeting, everyone just ducks. There's no talks about testing, legalizing. I mean, you know, we have to be extraordinarily proactive in New York. If there's a drug transaction in a nightclub, they let the rest of the club owner, you know, so I could be here on holiday and something happens, I'd come back and, you know, they'd be questioning me. So we're a long, long way from having any of those discussions.
To me, it seems as though a more realistic solution is zooming out a little bit more and looking at how can we reprogram the media coverage of these things. Because look, electronic music events are very easy to pick on when something goes wrong. It's very easy to demonize an electronic music festival when there's, God forbid, a drug-related fatality. But the reality of it is that anytime you get a lot of people together in one space, there will be drug and alcohol-related issues.
At the end of the day, everybody's gonna use it. It's happening, it's not gonna stop, and the key is to do it in a very reasonable and responsible manner. I don't like to see somebody going spastic in a corner in front of me when I'm DJing. It's not, it ruins the people around him or her, and everybody, the party's gonna be ruined because of that. And this kind of behavior, it needs awareness, but it needs to be coated in a way that you're not enticing people to take drugs, but just to tell them how to take them if they wish to take them.
The first step to fight against something is to come with official studies. Not like blah, 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 because if you show people papers, this and this and this is the official statement of a country.
I remember when Turnmis got shut down because they built a property development there, and I think with the fabric issue, it was exactly the same thing. You have all these multi-million, developers coming into London, and they want to turn it around and maximize their profits, and that's what's happening. So it's either the conglomerate against culture or the other way around. So we're glad that we kept the culture in London.
I've just been reading a report that's come from the House of Lords, and they're going to start looking at the Licensing Act again, because when the Licensing Act came in 2003 in the UK, it was pretty radical. I mean, there hadn't been anything in place. I think the last time they'd looked at a law like that was like 1480 something. So to have the Licensing Act in 2003 was really impressive, but actually now, 10 years later, does that act, or nearly 15 years later, does that act actually, is it relevant anymore?
In our sector, we are always kind of like put in that corner that people just take drugs because you provide the festival or you provide the clubs. If our scene is not getting somebody, like I said earlier, maybe a party in the European Parliament, and somebody's standing up and saying like, okay guys, yes, people use drugs on festivals and nightlives, but they use it generally everywhere, and on a football game and this and that. And I think this needed to be done, and somebody needs to stand up. I know it's not Eddie. I know it's it's more complicated in the US, but I think Europe needs to take the role on this and lead it a little bit.
I've never seen anything like it. It's the regulatory there, the environment there is this constantly shifting landscape that you can't predict around, you can't forecast around. I mean, to get permitting for our events, the number of hoops we have to jump through are staggering. But the worst part of that is that just when you think everything's great, you got every signature and every T crossed and I dotted, and it's a year's worth of work for a big event, and it's like 48 hours before the event, the government says, well, no, we changed our mind, we're pulling your permit altogether.
We have mobile phone thefts and small robberies, and the police are very interested in them because they push up their crime stats. And really weirdly, if you report rape to the police or you report a mobile phone theft, they go in as at the same level.
In Sunwaves Festival in Romania, how still the scene is sticking together. Somebody passed out on whatever drugs, but like 5 people were carrying somebody out who they didn't even know, helping him. And I think this is what electronic music from the beginning always standed for. Like we are one community, either if you're gay, straight, black, white, orange, whatsoever is your fetish. It's like everybody was accepted in electronic music. So I think like step 1 to change something could be every festival, every nightclub should give water for free to people, because that already changes a lot. Because less people collapsing if they have free access to free water.